Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have Alan here today. He's going to talk about his book, Prized Possession. This video is for men who have daughters, and every man who's heard Alan speak on this, and I've been at conferences where he spoke, every single one has come out and told me how moved and inspired they are by the way in which Alan expresses this particular topic. Alan serves as the executive director for Saving Innocence, an anti-human trafficking community-based organization focused on the recovery and restoration of child victims of sex trafficking. Before Saving Innocence, he was on the Young Life staff for 25 years. He is married with 2 children, and today we are here to discuss his book, Prized Possession. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you for having me, Susan. It's always an honor to be with you.
Great. So what is this book about?
Well, the target audience, as you said, is dads who have daughters. And so the tagline talks about a father's journey in raising his daughter. I'm the father of the 2 children that I had, a son and a daughter. So I got to experience both sides of it, which was really fun. And my daughter was our firstborn. And so it's just kind of that journey of trying to be the best dad I could be. It was my first child. I'd never been a dad before. And so I wanted to get this right. And so it's just chronologically looking backwards as this journey unfolded to, provide some tips and experience for younger dads.
Got it. That's great. And what inspired you to want to write a book about all this?
Well, for those 25 years on the Young Life staff, if you're not familiar, it's a faith-based organization worldwide. And we focus and pursue mostly high school kids, but also junior high kids. And so for 25 years, I'd been around thousands and thousands of high school kids, and about half of those were girls. And we go to our summer camps and things, and there's all these high school girls, and I saw that so many of them were making hard choices and in a way brokenhearted in a lot of ways, and that usually had something to do with their dad. And so I wanted to be the right kind of dad for my daughter, and then I also wanted to help other dads learn from the same experiences.
That is beautiful. Now, in the book, you share the grand slam of input, as you phrase it, that greatly impacted you and shaped your parenting of your daughter. Can you explain?
Yeah, there was, before the book was written, some of the stuff that was coming together in my mind and in my head and my heart. There was 4 really important things that happened in the course of about a year. They sort of were happening one after the other. It was really shaping my newly parenting status as a dad with a daughter. And the first one was a good friend of mine named Rick Hendrick. And Rick was a little bit older than me, and his daughter was 19 or 20. My daughter was 3. And so we were talking at breakfast one day. There was a particular boyfriend that was hanging around his daughter, and he wasn't crazy about her. He wasn't crazy about the boyfriend. And the boyfriend was just sort of talking a little carelessly about his daughter, Rick's daughter, and Rick stops him. This one particular time, he's telling me the story. He says, "Hey, wait a minute. You got to understand, my daughter is my prized possession. I need you to treat her with more care and concern than it seems like you are." And that really stuck with me. It's like, not possession in a kind of an overt ownership, twisted way, but my daughter is the most important thing that I have in my life. And God chose to give her to me, so she's mine in that sense, right? And so my daughter and I, Brittany, started this little phrase right after that. I'd say, "What are you?" Now she's 3 years old at this time. "What are you?" And then she would say, "Your prized possession."
Wow. Wow.
and we just kind of did that forever. I wanted her to know life was going to get hard. She's not going to be treated well in every setting. I can't control that. But I knew, because of my experience with Young Life, she's going to have a much better opportunity to sail through if she was sure that her dad loved her and was with her and protected her and felt like she was the most important thing in my life. So that's where Price, that was number 1 of the Grand Slam. Grand Slam means 4, right? The second one, and part of my Young Life duties, we go to these summer camps and kind of run the camp for a summer, a month at a time. And this one particular summer, back when my daughter was 3 or 4 years old, we were running this camp, and I was in charge of kind of all the games and the activities. And planned a million things, and costumes and music and games. And it's just like you're working around the clock basically to make the summer camp happen for high school kids. At the end of the week, this one particular week, there was an evaluation for the leaders that were there. And one of the female leaders who had a cabin full of girls said the most impactful part of this week for my girls was watching you, Alan, interact with your daughter. And I thought,
Wow.
wait a minute, what? I'm thinking, I didn't think I saw my daughter enough because I was busy running the camp. But they were watching. You know, she was on my shoulders eating an ice cream cone at one point. We were driving in a golf cart together. They noticed these girls were missing something, and they saw a dad doing what I considered to be normal, healthy, regular interaction with his daughter. Made a huge impact. That made an impact on me, that was important, that important to them.
Oh, wow.
Third one, a friend of mine on the Young Life staff back in those days named Jerry Mann, and Jerry says to me, back at all this, it's all happening at the same time. He says, "Are you loving your daughter?" I said, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, of course I'm loving my daughter. What do you mean?" And he says this. He says, "Because remember, what she doesn't get from you, she's going to go looking for in other guys." Whoa, that blew me away. It's like, wait a minute, say that again? Okay. I'm not going to have my daughter out making questionable or hard choices later in her life because I was not present and enough for her. If she makes choices, that's on her. But it's not going to be because I didn't give her all the love and affection and attention that she deserved. So that was a third one of the impact that it hit me. And then the last one, the Gunderson girls. Gunderson High School was a Young Life club that I led back in those days. And we were at one of these summer camps. And I was in this group. All these kids were there, and all the kids that I knew. And the question from up front was, what's the hardest thing in your life? And every one of these girls said, my relationship with my dad.
Wow.
And then it's like that impacted me because now all these other things are happening. I want to be the right dad. And so we're on the bus on the way home, a 4-hour bus ride. And I made my way to the part of the bus where most of these girls are sitting, and I knew them well. I said, "Hey, remember in the beginning of the week you said that? Can you tell me more about that?" And I sat there, I had a master class from about 6 high school girls that were saying the hardest part of their life was the lack of relationship or the hurtful relationship or the disappointing relationship they had with their dad. And I said, listen, I want my daughter in about 15 years to have a great relationship with her dad. Tell me, what do I need to do? And they thought it was kind of cute and all that. And they gave me, all the pointers about what to do, what not to do. It's in the book, Prized Possession, my conversations with them. But that's a grand slam of input. 4 things that happened in about a year's time that blew me away and changed the whole trajectory of my parenting.
That was so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, can you explain what you mean when you say that our girls are under assault?
Yeah, there's a whole chapter. I think it's chapter 3 in the book, and it talks about the assault on our girls. All you have to do is open up social media. And actually, when I wrote this book about 10 years ago, social media wasn't anywhere near what it is today. But there's actually an assault on our women and our children and our young girls. Google up some version of this that says demeaning song lyrics about girls or women. And your screen's going to be inundated with the most filthy, vile, disgusting lyrics you can imagine by some of the most richest and famous entertainers that we have.
Yes.
And they're talking about girls like they're disposable things to be used and abused and discarded or worse. Not to mention the daily dose of lies of the world's perception of beauty. Our girls, our young girls are taking in all these images. Experts say 5,000 images a day, and that's probably low. And most of those images are telling them they're not pretty enough, they're not cute enough, this part of their body's not good enough, that part of their body's not good enough, and they got it on this treadmill. They literally can never catch up. What they don't understand at a young age, that every single picture you see on a billboard in a magazine of some supermodel has been altered. She's altered her own body physically, and then it goes into post-production, and they start changing everything. It's literally not a complete, real human person. They've changed it so much, and our young girls don't know that. And now they're trying to catch up and be like her, and it's actually impossible.
Yes. Yes. Wow, that's amazing that as a man, you so fully understand that. That's so validating to us as women, to hear men fully understand the kind of impact our society has on beauty. Like, that's the only thing that matters, right?
Right.
And why is a dad so important?
A dad is critical for both fathers, sons and daughters. But in this case, this book is talking about daughters. A dad is critical because there's an affirmation that happens that a dad, some of it is in words, and a lot of it's just in unspoken. You're present. You're coaching the team, the little league team or the soccer team, or you're just in the stands every chance you can get. And you're helping to interpret all these lies that are coming in. And in today's technology, back when I was young growing up, and a lot of you probably listening, if you missed a TV show or a commercial, it was gone forever. Now you can stream everything, go on YouTube, everywhere else you can hit pause. Like, you've seen these commercials where you watch the commercial and you think they're selling sex, but actually it's from a hamburger place. They're selling hamburgers, but it's all wrapped up in a twisted version of beauty. And so what you can do, dads, you can sit there, you hit pause and say, hey, did you see that commercial? What do you think they're selling? What do you think's going on in that girl's head that she would be in that commercial? You can interpret those lies. There's counterfeit versions, cheap imitation definitions of beauty out there, and expectation. And a dad being present will make all the difference in a young girl's life.
Wow. And what do you hope to accomplish with this book?
Oh, I just, in my time with Young Life and now with Saving Innocence, where I've seen so many adolescent girls wounded, absolutely wounded, some in a very dramatic, graphic way, and some in a more subtle way. And almost always it's because men and fathers have not done their part. They haven't invested. They've been building themselves, not their family. They've been present with their friends, not their sons and their daughters. And so I'm hoping to inspire and challenge generations of dads, of men, of father figures and fathers to be close to their daughters and their sons, but we're talking about fathers and daughters. Be close to their daughters and help them grow up with the blessing of a great father, not the curse of lacking one.
Wow, that's so moving. So how can we get the book?
It's for sale on Amazon. So type in prized possession. Remember the little phrase I taught my daughter, what are you? And she said, you're a prized possession. And then I would say, don't you forget it. So prized possession is the little phrase that we captured back when she was so young. I mean, she's 34. She's turned 34 years old. I could text her right now. I'd say, what are you? And she would answer. We don't do it too often anymore, but she would say that. Go to Amazon, type in prized possession, and order as many books as you can and give them to all the young dads out there.
That's so fabulous. And I know so many men want to be great fathers, but their own father is not someone they would want to model.
Right.
So this book is so and very important for men to read and get a hold of. And what's so beautiful about, the internet and social media and books, and there's so many resources we have available today, is they can connect with someone like you.
And I have one more closing thought,
please,
Susan. And this is in the book. We detail it in the book. But I was told something very impactful when we were writing this book. And I know a lot of your listeners or your viewers are coming from a faith perspective. There's a large Christian audience, if you will. And what I was told, and I saw it played out in all those years at Young Life Camp, is that a daughter will project her feelings and her emotions and her relationship with her father on her picture of what God is like.
Yes.
So if a young girl feels like her dad is disinterested, is distant, is angry, is judgmental, is harsh, all those things, then she's going to then say, well, that's what God the Father in heaven is like.
Yes.
Disinterested, angry,
Yes.
hurtful, all those things. And the opposite is true. If a girl growing up feels loved and embraced and encouraged and the appropriate level of attention and affection, she's going to project that on her image of God. A God who is loving and encouraging and affirming. And that's going to make a really big difference on their journey, their spiritual journey.
Yes.
As how they perceive God is. And dads, I can't emphasize this enough. It starts with you. You play a really big role in your daughter's future relationship with who she thinks God is. So it's important, guys.
Wow. That was beautiful. What a great place to complete. Thank you again for being here, Alan.
Thanks for having me.